Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 184. We're talking right now with returning guest Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. Nick Kalikas is a professional MMA odds maker and a consultant for numerous high-profile sports books. And our call-in guest, also from MMAOddsBreaker.com, is MMA analyst Brian Heminger. All right, Gleison Tibau and Tony Ferguson. This is kind of a classic fight, right? A guy who's looking to break through in his career, facing a grizzled veteran, a gatekeeper, and the guy looking, the guy on the rise is the favorite. Ferguson minus 215. But it's not going to be an easy win over Gleison. And the question is just, where's the betting value, if there is any at all? Right now, the no-vig line puts Ferguson at about having a 65% chance of winning. I don't know. Maybe that's dead on, or is Tibau not getting enough respect here? What do you think, Brian Heminger?
I think that's about right. Gleison Tibau, what he's mainly known for is being the gatekeeper of the UFC lightweight division. That means you have to beat him if you want to get into that top 15, if you want to have any chance of being a contender someday. And that's what most of the top guys in the division have been able to do. They've been able to get past Tibau. And Ferguson, this should be a very interesting test for him, mainly because he's still pretty young. He's talented. He's long. He has a really crazy reach for the lightweight division, and he has a lot of power. So it'll all just come down to who imposes their will. Tibau has this real grinding style with some great takedowns, and he's very strong in the clinch. Ferguson is better in open space, and he has some bad fight IQ moments. Mm-hmm. So it'll be very interesting to see the dynamic of both of these guys' skill sets playing out.
Right. So at minus 215, do you think those odds are just a little bit high, or do you think that you'd probably bet on Ferguson even at that line?
I think it's a little bit too high. The main thing here is Ferguson has a tendency to be too comfortable off of his back, even though he comes from a wrestling background. And that's how Gleison Tibau wins fights, is gaining top position, getting takedowns, gaining the superior position along the fence. And Ferguson might put himself in some bad situations, like going for some submissions, some low percentage submissions. And the only real advantage I give Ferguson here in terms of the overall fight is conditioning and his striking in open space. And Gleison Tibau, because he cut so much weight, does slow down in the third round of every fight he's ever been in. Right. So it wouldn't shock me to see Ferguson pull off a late finish. Mm-hmm. But the fear here is that Ferguson loses the first two rounds and then comes on strong late but doesn't quite pull off the finish. Yeah. So I would probably be pretty careful with this fight, especially at the current price.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. My sense is that it's Tibau or pass at the current odds of plus 170 as well. Nick Kalikas, where'd you open this line?
Up at minus 210. So,
okay.
It's basically staying ballpark here, and they're getting some two-way action. And, you don't see Tibau be a decent underdog. Not that it's a huge price or anything, but still, typically you see a lot of Tibau's fights being closer to pick'ems. But you know what? This fight is where it's at because of the skill set for skill set. I mean, Ferguson has good wrestling. He's got good takedown defense overall. And again, Tibau is more of your grinding style fighter that likes to push forward and kind of control the pace of the fight, strong, bullies people around. So Ferguson should be able to avoid a lot of that stuff, or at least neutralize a lot of that stuff. And then on the feet, he's going to have the length, he's going to have the striking, and of course he's always dangerous with the submission game. I think the submissions should kind of neutralize each other out though a little bit here. But the fact is, again, fight IQ, as Brian pointed out, is an issue sometimes with Ferguson, no doubt about that. So if he does let himself get in spots like he did against Castillo, then we could see Tibau control him enough to maybe steal a decision here. But ultimately, I do think it's Ferguson's fight to win or lose, because in most cases he does have the ability to keep the fight upright, and he does have the ability. Tibau's been rocked and caught before against hard hitters, and he's been finished that way. Now you add the length with Ferguson with the knockout power potential as well, and he's the better overall striker. I think there's a good chance Ferguson finishes this fight inside. Mm-hmm. Might not even have to go round 3, but in round 3 it's definitely going to be a little bit more sketchy for Tibau in that spot. But overall, Tibau's one of those guys, man. I mean, he shows up to win every fight. He's very solid. That's why he's one of the best lightweights, I mean, as far as in the win column that the UFC's seen. So the guy is definitely a great gatekeeper. I mean, he was in a spot oftentimes or not that you consider him one of the top tier lightweights. So this would be a big win for Ferguson, and I think it's a matchup for him to win as well. If he gets a solid win over Tibau, then the UFC could do better things with Ferguson as well. So his fight to win or lose, I think he has potential to win a decision. I think he has potential to possibly even finish Tibau along the way.
So the line seems pretty accurate at the current odds. Brian Heminger, what would you do? Would you completely pass in this fight, or would you maybe take a small shot with Tibau or Ferguson or the total or a prop?
Yeah, I think I've convinced myself. I would take a small shot on Tibau. I wouldn't go crazy on it, but I think that there's a really good chance that he could walk away with a decision here. That's how he wins most of his fights. And I could see him winning the first 2 rounds and playing some cat and mouse in the 3rd round.
All right, plus 170. So, Nick Kalikas, anyone thinking about betting on Tibau, do you think plus 170 is the best odds that we're going to see between now and fight night, or do you think it could creep even higher? Maybe if someone waits, they could maybe get plus 200 at some point.
Yeah, you might be able to get that plus 200. So I would wait and see, honestly, because like I said, I'm not real sure which way the action is going to come in on this one. So there's a possibility that you get better than plus 170 on Tibau. I mean, Ferguson does have that kind of hype around him. I mean, he gets the betting community in general for MMA. They like him. They like to bet on him as well. So, yeah, it could creep up a little bit more. I would wait and see if there's a chance it creeps up a little bit.
All right, interesting thoughts, guys. Thanks so much.